It's that time again, ooh-wee! Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. In the Pacific Northwest, there are sea wolves, which are a unique subspecies of gray wolf, which have a semi-aquatic lifestyle, including a diet that's almost entirely marine-based, coming almost entirely from the ocean, and whose DNA differentiates from the inland wolves. A man in Denmark passed away by poisoning 26 hours after he drank coconut water that had been spoiled by a fungus directly from a coconut using a straw. But instead of keeping it refrigerated, it was left on the kitchen table for a month. It had been commercially prepared and sold as ready to drink. A 2009 study found that the character of James Bond had a strong sexual contact with 46 women and mild encounters such as kissing with a further 52 during the first 20 movies up until the 2002s with Die Another Day. In 2013, a California woman waited outside a county jail for several hours in order to slap someone because she wanted to go to jail so she could stop smoking. She knew that the only way to quit smoking was to go to jail because they don't allow tobacco. She ended up being sentenced to 63 days. In languages with heavy declension, speakers can arrange sentences any way they want, with an abundance of word modifications carrying the grammatical meaning. English is not, however. It uses syntax, or word order, to convey meaning. Coffin corner is a concept in aerodynamics where you cannot fly faster without causing your wings to go supersonic, nor fly slower without stalling. This occurs due to how increases in altitude both increases TAS relative to IAS and reduces temperature, thus reducing speed of sound. Using money earned from a 1961 biography of his brother Ernest, Lester Hemingway created a micronation called New Atlantis on the 240 square foot raft off the coast of Jamaica. He lived there with his wife and young children. It lasted 5 years before it was destroyed in a storm. Harold Butler, the founder of Denny's, once tried to buy Caesar's Palace but was accused of secretly offering shareholders illegal deals. The failed bid tanked Denny's stock, wiping out $80 million in fortune. He sold for just $3 million and eventually retired to Mexico. Rubber ducking is a technique used by programmers to help find errors in their code. Explaining their code to a duck or any other inanimate object out loud can help them spot issues as they talk it through. George Thorogood and the Destroyers undertook a 50-50 tour of the US, wherein they performed 50 shows in 50 American states in 50 days. There are 4 special hats among artifacts left by the late Bronze Age Urnfield culture of Europe, which is 1350 to 600 BC. The hats are made from thin sheet gold rolled into tall cones. The hats are covered in complex patterns and symbols, and these are thought to represent celestial calendars. There's a Jackson Pollock painting that was confiscated by the Iranian Customs Services for money owed by Iran's Ministry of Culture. The artwork was being returned to Iran after being on exhibit in Japan. The painting is estimated to be valued at $250 million. There was a platypus named Penelope who escaped the Bronx Zoo in 1957. After multiple rejections of her mate and a faked pregnancy, headlines dubbed Penelope a brazen hussy and one of those saucy females who like to keep a male on a string. It's a damn animal, man, leave it alone. Homer, or Dan Castellaneta, is the only member of the Simpsons family voiced by a man. Assamese, spoken in the Indian state of Assam, is the easternmost spoken Indo-European language. That, while Portuguese, spoken in Portugal, is the westernmost spoke. 2 places 9,000 kilometers apart, connected by a shared history of language. Carfentanil has approximately 4,000 times the potency of heroin and 20 to 100 times the potency of regular fentanyl in animal studies. The toxicity of carfentanil has been compared to that of nerve gas and raised concerns about its potential use as a chemical weapon. Dr. Freeman Dyson called the Dyson sphere a little joke and expressed amusement that you can be famous for only the things you don't think are serious. Throughout the 20th century, many people believed that the moon didn't actually rotate, including Nikola Tesla, who published a proof that the moon has no rotational energy. There's a submerged island in the Mediterranean that's only surfaced 4 or 5 times since the Punic Wars. During its last resurfacing in 1831, the island became subject to territorial disputes by European powers until it submerged again the following year. Bookkeeping can damage biodiversity. Studies on the island of Janutri showed that high densities of managed honeybees reduced the amount of nectar and pollen available for other pollinators. Even though the Manhattan Project cost about $2 billion or $30 billion adjusted for 2024, it wasn't the most expensive project in World War II. The development of the B-29 Superfortress costs about $3 billion or $52 billion adjusted. Psychopathy is present in around 1% of the population, but 25% of prisoners. In 2016, a Florida woman who streamed herself drunk driving received a harsher than usual punishment because she flaunted her endangering the community. In addition to punishments common for first-time DUIs, she also received 150 hours of community service and 10 days of weekend work release. Swell sharks and cat sharks glow underwater so they can talk to each other. The glow can also protect them from bacteria. Baghdad Bob, an information minister under Saddam Hussein, was known for his greatly inaccurate TV announcements. He reported that American troops and tanks had not entered Baghdad while they were heard fighting only a few hundred meters from the studio. In 1933, a family in Georgia recorded a song they had passed down for generations without knowing what language it was in. Later, it was found that the song was from the Mende language of Sierra Leone, preserved for nearly 200 years from the time their enslaved ancestors were brought to America. From 1974 to 1998, the Willis Sears Tower in Chicago was the tallest building in the world. It now ranks 26th. Abraham Lincoln was involved in a sword duel as a young man in 1842. In order to duel legally, he and his opponent had to travel to neighboring Missouri. They were facing each other on site when they agreed to call a truce. Later in life, Lincoln made it clear that he did not wish to discuss the incident. The video for Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles was filmed with no green screen or VFX. They really took her on a piano out for filming. Her piano and bench were moved using a flatbed truck and a custom-built dolly, and she wore a seatbelt under her skirt to secure herself to the bench. American actress Dovie Beams recorded her intimate encounters with then Filipino President Ferdinand Marcos and got played to public radio. In 1912, George Pyle, the head coach for the Florida Gators football team, became a fugitive from justice in Cuba after he broke a law saying coaches couldn't stop sports games. Piles was arrested but posted bail and promptly fled to the US. He refused to play the game over a rules dispute. Wang is the most common surname in the world. In 2024, a woman gave birth on a bench outside Sainte Croix Hospital in Quebec after not realizing that the main doors are locked overnight and that patients need to use emergency room entrances during those hours. Afterwards, signage was added to the hospital doors. The Canadian TV network CTV doesn't have an official full name because CBC, the Canadian public broadcaster, claimed it has exclusive rights on the term Canada. Pat Roach, who played a bad guy in all 3 original Indiana Jones movies, was also a famous British pro wrestler who wrestled almost until the end of his life. Humpty Dumpty was never originally described as an egg. The name was slang for a short, clumsy person and a type of drink, and the poem was probably originally a riddle. The Zamburak, a swivel weapon mounted on a camel, was used in war by several Islamic empires of the 17th and 19th centuries. The largest population of hamsters is found in Grand Central Cemetery in Vienna, Austria. Cesare Borgia was the object of a conspiracy in 1502 to remove him from power. However, he became aware of the conspiracy and tricked 3 of the plotters to arrive at a friendly meeting, having them all arrested or offed. The Phantom of the Opera has a first name, Eric. The last 4-funneled ocean liner to be scrapped was the RMS Aquitania, which was in service from 1914 to 1949. In the town of Espelette, France, people grew Espelette peppers. The town held pepper festivals dedicated to those local peppers every October. The peppers have a fruity flavor and have a heat level of 4,000 Scoville heat units. The peppers today have the EU's PDO status and France's AOP. Those steel windmill-looking things that are commonly seen on farms are called wind pumps, and they use energy from the wind to pressurize and pump water for irrigation. During the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, a young man's brain was melted and then rapidly cooled by a superheated ash cloud, turning the brain tissue into natural glass, preserving its microscopic neuron structure. Historical duels weren't about killing your opponent, but about restoring your honor. Satisfaction meant risking your life to prove both courage and integrity. Prior to the Algerian War of Independence, Algeria was the world's largest wine exporter, accounting for nearly 2/3 of total international wine trade. In 2023, a Tennessee man lost almost 60 pounds after only eating half portions of McDonald's menu items for every meal for 100 days. He didn't exercise at all and never counted calories. However, his cholesterol level went down by 65 points. His wife even participated with him in the final 60 days. In 2005, an LA Dodgers pitcher offered the Miami Marlins bat boy $500 if he could drink a gallon of milk in under an hour without throwing up. The bat boy drank the milk in 59 minutes but threw up outside the clubhouse. The episode prompted the Marlins to suspend the bat boy for 6 games. The 1950s book Seduction of an Innocent convinced many Americans that comic books caused juvenile delinquency. Wicker is not the name of a material, but the name of the weaving process. But that's it. Let me know what you guys thought of this video in the comments. Leave a like and be sure to subscribe because you won't want to miss the next one. Thanks for watching.